Hello, it's Friday the 18th of November. I'm Simon Whitney. Welcome to issue 46 of Travers Smith's Sustainability Insights. This week, we're looking at the UK's proposals on sustainability regulation for asset managers, the so-called SDR. When the UK left the EU, it could have chosen to copy out the EU's Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulation, or SFDR. Many observers assumed it would do just that. Having a single set of sustainability rules would have made sense for many firms, for whom Europe is still a single market, and British policymakers were keen to emphasise their green credentials. But of course, the UK government of the time had little appetite for copying out EU rules, and the mood has only hardened since. Prime Minister Sunak's rhetoric contemplates a bonfire of EU law. The UK thinks it can do better, especially in relation to financial services. Time will tell whether the UK government is right about that, but doing better than the SFDR will not be hard. The EU can take credit for being first out of the blocks, but the costs of implementing rules that even the regulators do not understand has been immense. Lack of a coherent policy objective and over-hasty implementation has led to muddled regulation that has created confusion in the market. The UK has been working on its own version of the SFDR for some time, and when the regulator, the FCA, published draft rules for consultation at the end of last month, it became clear that it's following quite a different path. While the benefits of interoperability with the SFDR are acknowledged, the proposed UK rules will look very different. The FCA proposes to introduce a general anti-greenwashing rule, which makes clear that ESG disclosures must be clear, fair, and not misleading. In fact, this doesn't add much to the existing law, but it is a reminder that the regulator is planning to step up enforcement action against firms that fail to deliver on their ESG pledges. All UK firms with more than £5 billion of assets under management or advice will soon need to produce TCFD-aligned disclosures. The FCA proposes to expand these to cover sustainability-related risks and opportunities more generally, using international accounting standards as the base. At the moment, these are proposed to be fairly high level, adopting the TCFD's 4 themes. But the centrepiece of the FCA's proposals is a labelling regime. The UK has learned from the EU's misstep here and intends that the labels have clear and easy to understand definitions. They will be entirely optional. Products, even those with sustainability features, will not be labelled unless a firm wants them to be. The labels are designed primarily with retail investors in mind, although any UK fund could use them if it wished. 3 mutually exclusive labels are proposed: Sustainable Focus, Sustainable Improvers, and Sustainable Impact. Any firm using a label will have to comply with some overarching principles as well as the category-specific criteria, and the bar is set quite high. The FCA offers a suggested mapping to the SFDR categories and those more recently proposed by the US SEC, and asserts that many SFDR Article 8 products would not qualify for any of its labels. For example, exclusion policies would not be enough to qualify for a label, and any labelled product must have a clear, measurable and specific sustainability objective. While this FCA mapping is helpful, it will not be definitive. Firms will have to work out how to navigate these differences for themselves. Product level disclosures, both pre-contractual and periodic, are significant for those firms that choose to use a label, but they're fairly light for those that do not. If the product has retail investors, it will need to have consumer-facing disclosures, whether it's labelled or not. More detailed disclosures are required for retail or institutional products that have sustainability-related features that are integral to their investment strategy, and these will need to be kept up to date. But only labelled products will have to prepare a sustainability product level report, again, drawing on developing international standards. As with the TCFD aligned rules, firms managing private unauthorized funds are not subject to public product level disclosure requirements. Instead, their client, usually on a strict reading of the rules, the fund itself, can request equivalent information on demand. Firms might also want to consider making these disclosures available to any fund investor that asks for them. Firms targeting retail investors will also be subject to a naming rule to ensure that, unless they use a label, the name of the product and its marketing material does not use certain sustainability-related terms. As currently proposed, that rule would not apply to funds with only institutional investors. That means that a UK-regulated private capital firm with no retail investors and which does not choose to use a UK label will only have additional product level disclosure obligations to the extent that a UK product has some core sustainability features, and these disclosures will be limited. The FCA is also not currently planned to apply the rules to non-UK funds that are marketed to UK investors, although it says that it may do so in future, and the current rules do not clearly exclude non-UK products managed by a UK firm. The draft rules are now subject to consultation until January, and is expected that they will be finalised by the end of June 2023. Apart from the general anti-greenwashing provision, which will apply immediately, the rules will come into force in stages from June 2024 onwards. It's noteworthy that the FCA rejects the EU's principal adverse impacts regime, preferring to use international standards, and it has no equivalent of the SFDR's do no significant harm test, which it says is too restrictive. Currently, there are also no requirements to report taxonomy alignment, although that may change when the UK taxonomy has been developed. There is a lot of detail to work through in the FCA's proposals, and the private capital industry is already working on a response. But so far, the signs look good. The FCA has clearly listened to the market's feedback on its 2021 discussion paper, and it has simplified and modified its proposals accordingly. Private markets firms that are still grappling with SFDR and the EU taxonomy and forthcoming US rules will not welcome having to get to grips with a new set of sustainability disclosures. And the market does have legitimate concerns about regulatory fragmentation and the resulting complexity and lack of comparability. But realistically, the UK was never going to copy out the SFDR, and it's welcome that its proposals are, on the whole, proportionate and well calibrated, even if in some places they could work better for private markets. Of course, the EU and US regulators oversee much larger markets than the UK's FCA, and the impact of UK sustainable investment regulation will be significantly more limited. However, the regime will be important for asset managers with a UK footprint, and the British government no doubt hopes that it might also influence the development of rulebooks in those other jurisdictions. Thank you for listening. If you'd like more information on this topic, please check out our website, where you can also sign up to receive future editions of these insights, or drop me an email, simon.whitney@traverssmith.com. We will be hosting a webinar in January on the FCA's proposals. If you'd like to register interest in that, please do drop me a line. Thank you.